So these are the 7 principles. I'm just going to kind of go over each one of them and say, just briefly touch on them to start to get an orientation of what they are and get a sense of, how they operate in a very cursory way. Now, I will say, as a cautionary tale, once you know these things, it is like you will not unknow them. So everything is going to become, an interesting dynamic where you look at things just really differently. But as an alchemist, as a person that now has the potency of understanding these concepts, then that also gives you great power to transmute your how you're feeling, a circumstance around you, and shift like, oh, this is on the polarity, the hate love polarity. Like, okay, this is on there. They're on the same spectrum. I just need to raise that vibration rate up. Figuring out how to move in polarity with the self, it makes things look like magic, but really you're just really knowing how to move your polarities. So these are the 7 principles. I'm going to go through them briefly, but this is just really kind of grounding us into an orientation of these principles. Why they're important, you'll have it with a sense of these laws, because now that having a sense of these laws, having a sense of the history, and diving into Kabbalah, it creates a whole different orientation. So, principle of mentalism, the all is mind, the universe is mental. The phenomena of life, matter, energy, and all that is apparent where material senses is spirit, which is itself unknowable, yet may be thought of as a universal infinite mind. He who grasps the mental nature of the universe is well advanced on his path to mastery. It is essentially like as above, so below, which is going to be coming along this in correspondences, is that if you think about your own mental capacity out there and how, as we talked about Yesod and that great Akashic library of all potential in there, and you keep going up even higher up the tree and you realize the infinite consciousness that flows through you is a part of the consciousness of all things. The intelligence of that consciousness, it's beyond what the mind can perceive, but if you think of it like an infinitely vast mind, like Yesod on a whole other scale, then that's coming closer to what it is. And reason why that's important is that allows you to recognize how through symbols, through the utilization of archetypes and symbols and thought processes, we can understand certain concepts. Then if you take that and you think and you magnify it, you can start touching toward that which is unknowable. I think that's really how people are able to take base concepts, gross concepts, things that are distinguishable in the material world or within the mind, and assume the vastness of them because of that one particular principle of mentalism. If I can perceive this and the Godhead is like me, ineffably more enormous and grandeur and capacity and love and wisdom, all those things, but it's like that. So that might mean that's how the universe works too. And so you extrapolate ideas from the mind and you put them into the divine mind and say, oh, that's how the system may work as well. And so it gives you clues to the ineffable. The principles of correspondence, as above, so below, as below, so above. The principle of correspondence allows man to reason intelligently also what is known and unknown. Those two really work together, and to know the phenomena of the universe by knowing the self. So to know that compassion can happen as a collective phenomenon, that we can all evolve as people, is because you can grow as an individual. You could transform. You could choose differently. You could become into deeper states of awareness. That means we all can collectively. That means this planet can. This planet can evolve into a higher vibrational frequency because as above, so below. So anything that can happen within your life of transmutation, change, and evolution can happen in the collective, can happen in the planet, can happen in the universe. The principle of vibration. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. The differences between energy, mind, matter, and even spirit vary largely due to the difference in vibration rates. Atom, molecules, the world, and universe is everything in vibratory motion. And understanding this principle with the appropriate formulas allows the Hermetic to control their own mental vibrations. They don't like the word control there, but they use it. He who understands the principle of vibration grasps the scepter of power. So understanding essentially that vibration is all things, frequency is all things, resonance is all things. then allows you to find higher attunements. Vibrational healing, medicine, why medicine bowls and ohms and chantings and solfeggio frequencies and binaurals and all these things are powerfully healing is because they are perfectly harmonized frequency. And what are we? Frequency. So if we lie on an amethyst biomat with a bioacoustic, with a medicine bowl and a gong going, then we rest there in meditation, absolutely can up your entire vibratory sphere and heal you and transmute you and allow you to let go of dross heavy things, because it's all vibration, it's all frequency. I look forward to the day when our medical system really embraces that and we get back to the Atlantean light and sound and resonance healing again. Yeah, but we'll get there, and it's happening slowly. The Vogels and the light technology for healing is pretty epic right now, but it's not all across the board popularized this time. The principle of polarity. Everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has a set of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but difference in degree. That is really, really important to understand. And you will really get a sense of this if you kind of like something. When you really like something, it's like, oh yeah, it's all the way over here. And you don't like it, it's like, no way. Where is that point between you like it and you don't, really? Like you get real close, you're like, yeah, I'm not sure if I like it or not. It's like smack in the middle. And like other things can happen like that, so you could understand that that's all spectrum. That's not different things. That is all spectrum on polarity. So application of these principles allows the Hermetic to alchemize the polarity of mental states with the proper application of will. So that in the book itself, and when we get into that, we'll look at a little bit more of if there is certain mental states that you're like, wow, I'm really capturing myself in, I want to slide along that trajectory, you can work that in. That which we really often attract to often has a very distinct polarized lesson for us as well. Okay, the principle of rhythm. Everything flows in and out. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall, an action and reaction, an advance and a retreat, in mind and energy and matter. The Hermetists have learned to neutralize this law, the ability to use it, not be used by it. The master uses this technique of polarizing himself and neutralizing the swings back and forth to consciously create a poise, a steadfast determination through will that is almost inhuman to perceive. And by that, it means that if you know the rise of tides, say, the phases of the moon, you understand the flows of the seasons, you're not fighting against things. Most people are running around out there, have no idea it's a full moon, have no idea what sign they're in, and they're all agitated and all going crazy. They have no idea what's happening out there. But the Hermetist is aware of all these tides, are aware of the rhythms, aware of the flows in conversations, the cessations between breaths. People are talking, all of a sudden there's a cessation that occurs, and you're like, you're not feeling awkward in the middle of to penetrate that break point there. No, you're just resting in it. Oh, good. This is the time that we rest and reflect. And then we start talking again, like the rhythms that occur are natural, are harmonic or organic. If the more sensitive and subtle that you tap into them, then the more you can ride them. Everyone else is like in the chaos, and you look like you're just, even keel on the boat, just cruising along. And oh yeah, you know what? Everyone else is trying to get something done. You're not. I'm not working for 2 days. In fact, I'm contemplation. This is not the work time. You feel the vibe out there? This is not work time. And then everybody like scrambling around, they get nothing done. You start working, you get into a flow 2 days later, you use that as contemplation time. Learning your own rhythm, being subtle, being open to it, learning the great rhythms and attuning to it is magic. It looks like profundity, but it's just honoring flow. The principle of cause and effect. Every cause has an effect. Every effect has its cause. All occurs according to this law. Chance is only a word for this law being unrecognized. Nothing can escape this law. Yet the Hermetist just understands how to rise in mental planes, become a causer, where normally others would receive the effect. The masters obey this rule in a higher plane, but the lords own it on their own plane. What that's saying is that we live a choice-based life. Everything is choice-based, and everything has impact. And that means the little choices you make in your mind to do something that no one even knew about, impact. That's why you have to be responsible for the mind. We talked about that in the Yesod meditation, responsible for the foundation, responsible for the mental choice. But of course, the other choices that we make every day, it has impact. You say something hard to somebody, oh boy, the ripple goes out, there it goes. You shout out grief into the cosmos. I don't know where that's going, but it's felt somewhere. Being very aware of that cause and effect makes you have mindfulness. That's why I think mindfulness even exists. Be very aware of what you do, very aware of what you say, because that absolutely matters. So this for me is just really underlying your choices all ripple. As a producer of music, I'd see a band play, they would be rocking out with a huge crowd, and then I catch them the next time and be like, not as much as they like, and I see them kind of like, not as into it. And I'd be thinking in my mind, I'd be like, yeah, you had that big crowd before, but now I'm standing here in the crowd. I'm one of the few, but I'm ready to throw $30,000 at you to book a show, but I want to see you want it, Well, they decided that wasn't important to them because they were judging it on crowd size, but they weren't thinking in their mind, talent buyer out there might be there that is down for that. And I've gone to other shows on the other side of the spectrum. I was one of 10 in a room and they were rocking like it was a freaking arena. And I'm like, oh, hell yeah. Yeah, if you do that for us, I can imagine if we gave you a proper crowd, So that's one of the things that is really important is just be very discerning with how you show up. If it's one person, you could change one person's life and they could change the world. Just because you're talking in front of 10,000 doesn't mean it's any more important than talking in front of 5 that are really tapped in. Gender is everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principle. Gender manifests on all planes of existence. This is not only true of the physical plane, but of the mental, spiritual planes as well. The physical plane, gender manifests as sex, yet on the higher planes, it manifests as different principles: generation, regeneration, creation. So finding the harmony and balance as we look up the tree, as we showed before, every single sephirah on the tree, masculine, feminine, masculine, feminine, masculine, feminine, forces, forms, and the pillars themselves, severity, mercy. So really embracing that within the self, within the evolutionary path, within all of creation. For me, I feel the reason why I feel I've matured a lot in terms of finding the feminine in me. It's probably because I have 3 little girls and powerhouse wife, but finding the feminine in me, the softness, the nurturer, the holder, the compassion, the care, all of that is more my dominant quality than my masculine is in many ways. And that I think is a great transmutation for me as a Piscean. I was never comfortable being a tough guy, never comfortable being in the more assertive, authoritative or aggressive type roles. It's never what I was. So finding that I can actually flex gender in myself and allow the gender principles in myself to rise and fall and become dominant and receptive actually is incredibly liberating. So finding the genders in the self, finding the gender beauties and the amazing transmutations of gender beauties happening around us. And in the cosmic orientation and play, when you balance the masculine and feminine, you find equilibrium. Every time you find equilibrium, all the way up the tree equilibrium. So that's just one of the important principles that as all these are omnipresent in the self, in civilization, in the world, in the cosmos, these all relate across the board.